Hello, my name is Kenny Michael. Welcome to Bowl Fix. Today we're replacing the Rake sweep hook cam follower. The ball bearing on this one has worn out and needs replaced. Drop the machine down to 270 spotting pins. Unplug the machine so that it cannot be powered on by anybody. Be safe and use common sense when working around automatic pin setters. Take a moment to study this slide and acquire all of the items before you begin. Spread out a blanket or a towel over the deck so that any falling parts can be easily retrieved. I took a bungee cord and I lifted the weight off that rake hook and just kind of tied it down to the turret wires just to lift it up off of that cam so that I didn't have the pressure on that shaft. So I'm going to remove the X washer that holds the automatic out-of-range lever to the Rake sweep hook cam follower. Now remove the spring that's right underneath the link to the detector. Remove the X washer which holds the link to the detector. Now remove the link and move it up and out of the way. Remove the spacer and put that in a safe place. You're going to be putting that back on later. Here is an X washer and pin that you must remove, which attaches to the rake hook. Pull the pin out from the link and save that for later. This machine has an obsolete micro switch on it, and we're going to remove the wires that are connected to it so we can access the roll pin. You can see it right there. That's going to get pushed out with your punch. I realize that this punch may be a little bit too small. I did not have a 3/16 inch punch, but I was able to drive the pin out, and you want to have your hand underneath once you get it close so that you can catch the pin. If you spread a blanket out over your deck chutes, anything that falls out will get caught into the blanket or to a towel, and then you'll be able to retrieve it easily. Here you can see the pins just about out, and then you'll see it just drop. Set the pin aside because you're going to reinstall that after you replace the lever. Remove the X washer and pin from the scissor selector on the D shaft. Set them aside to be reinstalled later. I did not have a 6-inch extension that I could use as a drive to push the D shaft out, but I did find a stud that was about the right diameter, and I believe it was long enough in order to push the D shaft out. The D shaft is moving. As I'm pushing it out, that little stud is moving in, and it's keeping those other two levers in place so they don't just fly out of the detector. Take your time here and just work that shaft out until you get far enough away till you can release the that rake hook cam follower. I'm holding the D shaft on the left and I'm tapping it on the right on that stud, and I'm just trying to push it out until I get clearance. I don't want the D shaft to fly completely out of the machine. Here that stud that I'm tapping with pretty much bottomed out, and I realized that I could just wiggle the D shaft over now and have enough clearance in order to get that cam follower out. Now I did not remove that D shaft all the way out. I just moved it over far enough to where I could get this sweep cam follower thing out of there. And you can see that the bearing is missing the outer piece and all the little ball bearings inside. Here's the new piece, has a new bearing and needs a couple of drops of oil. Now I have to kind of move some levers around. I have to get that rake hook link. I have to get it positioned where it needs to go so it can slide in, and then I work it up into the space where the D shaft is. And then I'll just work that D shaft over to the right until I can get it started. Now that I get it close, I can just kind of wiggle it around, kind of tap it in a little bit. I never force. You see, I'm just barely tapping with a little tiny hammer, and I'm just trying to work it through until I can get all those pieces to align. So I'll kind of wiggle them in, kind of move that punch on the right side, and you see how the punch is coming out to the right as the D shaft goes into the left. I make sure the lever's clear, everything's out of the way, and now the D shaft is all the way in. In order for me to get the roll pin in, I'm going to take some tape and I'm going to tape the roll pin to the end of my punch. And that will fasten the roll pin and also give me enough reach to where I can get the pin started and just kind of tap it in with a small hammer. So I slide the punch in. I want to make sure that the D shaft hole and then that other lever are lined up before I begin engaging the pin. So here I'm just going to tap that pin in just a little bit, and since the punch is a little bit small, it ends up falling in the hole. I know everybody's going to make comments about this, but this is what I had, this is what I worked with. This is the first time I ever replaced one of these. I went back and found a bigger punch to go ahead and finish it off so that I could drive it in without any issues. Here I pulled the tape off and I'm just working it in. You see I have a bigger punch here now, and I just want to get that pin in until it lands flush. Here we're going to reconnect the pin to the scissor selector to the lever on the D shaft. Put the X-washer back on. This X-washer looks okay, but you probably want to put new X-washers on if you have them, brand new ones. Boom, there you go. We're going to install this link now. I actually put the pin in from the left to the right. Since I'm right-handed, it's easier for me to put the X-washer in on the right side. I don't think it matters. We're going to reconnect the connectors to the strike switch. going to go ahead and remove our bungee cord from the deck hook. Reinstall the spacer that you removed earlier. Reinstall the link that goes to the rake sweep hook. Install the X-washer. Install the spring and then pull it over to the spring post. Now this lever we replaced was a slightly different style, and you can see the slot does not accept an X-washer. So I went and got an O-ring and I put that on after I realized that it was a different style. Here I just demonstrate that the new lever is a different style than my old lever. The old lever takes an actual X-washer and the new one takes an O-ring. So I found one of the little O-rings and I'll just slip that right over the lever. This is the outer range lever on the top. Okay, if you look carefully, you can see the clearance on the rake hook. I'm adjusting the clearance to make sure I have, I think it's a 1/16 inch or so. You'll have to look in the book to verify. But I wanted to make sure at 270 the rake hook had clearance, so when I cycle the machine, it doesn't crash into the deck. When you're first turning the machine on, be sure to gently pulse it so that you don't have any issues, and you can keep an eye on things so they just don't crash into each other at full speed. Alright, we're going to try the machine out. We're going to run the machine here. Looks like I have clearance on the rake hook. The rake's grabbing, pulling the rake back, and then there we go. We're all set, and that's how we do it.